Hello and good morning. Welcome back in rainy Belgium. Now I'm on my way to my friend Alexander to replace the particle filter in order to pass technical inspection in a few weeks. I got some koffiekoeken, which is a custom in Belgium. If you go somewhere on Sunday, you bring koffiekoeken. Welcome back to the channel. In the first two episodes of this Volvo Revival series, we inspected and replaced the old and leaking injectors to give this small 1.6 liter turbocharged diesel. But if we want to pass the technical inspection in Belgium, we'll have to replace the diesel particulate filter in order to bring the total amount of soot particles down to less than 250,000 parts per cubic centimeter. I already tried to regenerate the filter, but it won't help a thing if the filter is cracked. The funny thing is though, since this car has the Euro 5A emission standard, we could go to Wallonia, the southern part of Belgium, where they don't do this test. But since we live in the city, I'd like to contribute to a healthier environment. So I found a silicon carbide filter in Spain for 1/3 of the price of the official Volvo part. I can say I'm not skeptical and I hope this job won't be done in vain. Let's get started. Okay, let's get to it. First step is removal of the bottom plate. How do you call this? Plastic cover, skid plate, plastic skid plate. We're gonna already soak these bolts with WD-40 because, as you can see, they're very rusty. And then here down below we have to unscrew these two bolts. This we actually don't have to touch because it's actually welded to the new unit. And we have to lower the car and start at the bottom, at the top. Yeah, it's gonna be a bitch. This is gonna be a bitch indeed. This bolt is completely rusted. The two rusty bolts connecting the filter to the rest of the exhaust are by far the hardest to remove. That's why we left them soaking in WD-40 and kept them for last, so we could use the angle grinder in the worst case scenario.
Altijd plezier eigenlijk. Jeep pakken en dat meteen in elkaar gestoken.
Induction pipe is loose at the bottom and now we need to... There we go. Okay, let me go. This is definitely a two-man job, guys. Okay, here we go. Induction pipe. Of course, good practice. The long one goes here and the other one goes somewhere over here. Don't forget this. Next step, we'll disconnect these sensors. So this is like the lambda sensor and these two, I don't know, other sensor. This one on top and the other one is below, and that's the way they connect to the computer. Let's just make sure we got it right. So this is the top one and goes to the top one. That's easy.
Benzine Gewoon die druk dat je naar binnen steekt.
He's ranting about how he likes his oldtimer. Anyway, we are professional mechanics and we advise to disconnect the sensors while the VIDA software doesn't say so. But in order to remove these, you have to turn around the whole sensor, and this seems healthier if you do it with the cables disconnected. All right. And now we are trying to disconnect those little bastards. Yeah. The fun continues with this rusty bolt right here, and there is a bolt that I cannot even film, right in the back in the middle of the screen. So we're going to try to get to that. We're disconnecting everything before we cut or grind these bolts away, because once we grind those, we hit a point of no return, and I like to drive home later this day. So next we're going to remove the heat shield without removing the sensors first. And the heat shield is still attached with one little bolt. I'm gonna use my little wrench. It's not little, it's from Lidl. Try to get a sponsorship from Parkside. Saying this to the guy with the hardware store. Okay. Now we're gonna see if we can remove those sensors. I've been told they can be cold welded. Dus moet langs boven proberen, minder risico dat je een andere. Fun. Ah, he had gewoon this special tool. He has the special tool that they mention in the software. Wow. Black, eh? To be expected. This is one probe. This is why you can unscrew them with the cables attached. They thought of everything, at Volvo, so they don't spin. Oh, we removed both temperature sensors and we left this one in. We don't have a big enough tool to remove it, but we were able to loosen the heat shield. And now we're gonna go up again and see if we can reach to other bolts that are still attaching the filter to the rest of the engine block. Alright, the WD-40 did its job. And then we have one bolt to go. That is the most tricky one of them all. Behind the air conditioning compressor. With the lambda sensor still inside, we are able to remove the heat shield and give us a little bit more space to work. We are almost there, I dare to say. So this one is easy because it's stainless steel.
It's called a knuckle buster.
Well, in the next shot you will see that it has worked.
A few moments later.
Anyway, you get the idea. Careful here because there is a lot of tension. You don't want to put your fingers in there or it's a one-way trip to the hospital. So one of the bolts decided to cooperate. We just put the angle grinder inside and that convinced.
It's scared to bolt into loosen.
So just show them the angle grinder. After this we have one bolt.
One more nut to go.
There we have it. So it was quite hard to film this, but the way we got the bolts loose is to use all the extensions that we could find and the breaker bar, and this is a two-man job, so one guy below putting the extension and the socket on the nut, and then you go down here and with the breaker bar it came off, but of course you can also go for the angle grinder approach. As you can see, the filter is almost out. While everything was disconnected, we still had a hard time guiding the old DPF out of the engine bay. After 5 minutes or so, we finally managed to get it out. Alright.
Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, only 2 hours of work.
So now we are transplanting all the things, which is basically only this heat shield, to the new part that we then have to wiggle back in the car, and hopefully that is the hardest part, and then just bolt everything back down. So actually getting this in was really easy. Way too easy, so we're wondering what are we doing wrong. So the torque just do click. Tuck, tuck.
Tuck, tuck.
So the torque for this clamp is 24 Newton meters, which is apparently more than we thought. There we go. Oh, 24 Newton meters as well, and those are these two bolts. Exhaust bolts, 50 Newton meter.
Did we break it?
Nee.
No.
Nog niet.
Nog niet.
Of course, from the nut side. There we go. And not this side, as Alexander pointed out. Always torque on the nut. So the bolts on the heat shield are 10 Newton meters, which is not that tight. Wait, I'll adjust your elbow torque, 10 Newton meters. So now it's time for the pressure sensors. Right. The temperature sensors should be torqued at 30 Newton meter. The lambda sensor is 45 Newton meters, and as you can see, it's maybe better to mount the sensor out of the car because without a special tool I don't think we will be able to torque it to spec. I think it's not going anywhere. So we're reversing a little bit because
sometimes learn from your mistakes.
That thing is in the way of the heat shield, but now it's getting more difficult to torque that. Or we can switch it around, but I think this is the cleanest solution. Eh? Yeah, otherwise it will be in the way. The only solution.
Otherwise the heat shield won't fit.
And the heat shield is important.
You need heat sheet.
The small heat shield on top also bolts down with 10 Newton meters. Alright, so these bolts 10 Newton meters, but that feels very light, so we did a bit extra. Sorry, Volvo. Here are some pictures taken with my cheap bore cam from within the old DPF. To be honest, I expected worse and more soot deposits, but from what I can find online, it's supposed to be completely clean, and here you can clearly see the failed cells. Clean exhaust. Okay, we still have to reset something in the computer. We have to do this little procedure. There we go. So it does know now the particle filter is actually empty. And with this, the installation of the new DPF is concluded. But if you think we're all set for technical inspection now, you're wrong. Because while we inspected the car 1 week prior to filming this episode, we discovered a ripped CV boot. We'll need to address that before the entire axle is ruined. So stay tuned for another operation on this 13-year-old Volvo. As always, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to support the channel if you haven't done so already. Right, on a job well done. Cheers. Just do click. Tak, tak.
Tak, tak.